I want to thank all the writers for all the work that you did in this magnificent orchestra. You know, this is such a unique thing to have an orchestra like this at a university, the Mancini family. The fact that they brought this to the University of Miami that benefits writers, performers to play in all sorts of idioms, conductors now, all sorts of things, and gives so many people an opportunity to come to the University of Miami. So for the Mancini family and all the forces that brought this great opportunity here, it's something to be grateful for. So we have a vocalist for our last piece. This is Katie Oberholtz, and the piece is called The Art of Adapting by Daniel Fiamengo. And this is Jennifer Britton, and she is a professor of psychology here at the University of Miami, doing wonderful studies here. Also, together, I think she's going to talk about work with Stephanie Hudeberg, who I think is here, maybe in the audience. So please tell us about your work, and then Daniel will tell you about his connection to it.
Sure. So our research lab is the Brain Group, and our main focus is to study anxiety and anxiety disorders. We are an effective neuroscience lab, as well as and we take a developmental perspective, because a lot of the anxiety disorders present themselves in adolescence, and we try to understand what is going on behind them. So one of the things that we are focused on is flexibility. And you can think about anxiety. When you're starting to worry about something, you can get stuck in those worries. And we want to understand how do some people are able to actually adapt and go from that worry state to a non-emotional state, or even to a positive state. And so we're studying flexibility in the context of our lab. We study it across several different domains. So if you think about anxiety, right, standing in front of an audience that you can't really see, it does something to your body, and it does something to your brain. And so we study it at multiple different levels. So we're studying heart rate variability. We're studying how the brain actually processes how you switch between emotions, and trying to understand that in relationship to how do anxiety present themselves and emerge in childhood and adolescence. So,
yeah. Daniel, please tell us. And yeah, wherever she is. Hi, Stephanie, thank you. And Daniel, so he wrote the lyrics to this piece, he wrote the music, and so tell us all about it.
Yes, absolutely. First of all, I just want to say how grateful I am to be able to work with these amazing researchers, both Dr. Britton and Ms. Hudeberg. That was actually one of the nice things about this project, was that Dr. Britton, and please correct me at any point if I'm incorrect, works more in the research capacity, whereas Ms. Hudeberg works more directly with people in a clinical sense. So both of those influences sort of aided in different parts of the composition. Ms. Hudeberg helped a lot with the lyrical component, whereas Dr. Britton helped me come up with the musical themes. One of which that I came up with upon meeting with her, as she's already mentioned, she spoke a lot about flexibility, and people with anxiety have a hard time going back and forth between positive and negative emotions, which is why this piece is called The Art of Adapting. It's the process and the practice of being able to be emotionally flexible. And so the way that I reflected that in this piece is there's a soprano saxophone solo sort of near the beginning. And this ties into something that Maria Schneider actually taught me last semester, was that there are modes. Modes sort of have an inherent light and dark sound. And so I wanted to play with those different sounds, and how quickly can you go from a dark mode to a more light mode. So for example, in this solo, there's maybe 2 bars of sort of a darker tonality followed by 2 bars of a lighter tonality. And I go back and forth for a while, then I shorten it. I go 1 bar dark, one bar light, a half bar, so on and so forth, to sort of illustrate that process. Another thing that really struck me was Dr. Britton told me a lot about part of the brain called the amygdala, which is the part of your brain that processes fear. And when the amygdala becomes overactive, one of the ways that manifests in your body is with your heart rate. you'll hear right when the piece starts, the kick drum that's being played is supposed to represent a heartbeat. And I actually did the math when I was coming up with the tempos for this piece, because we have BPM, and you can't just say, oh, well, I'll just make it 100 BPM, because I have do, 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 do. I did the math, and I tried to illustrate at the beginning a heart rate that is somewhat unhealthy, and then by the end of the piece, a heart rate that is healthier and slower, and represents a more calm emotion. So those are sort of the ways that the research helped me illustrate this musically.
So would you share with us the lyrics? Because sometimes it gets lost, in the sound and the orchestra and everything, and I wanted them to hear what you wrote.
Certainly, yeah. I like to think of this piece in 3 different sections, the first of which being your mind is sort of being bogged down and taken over by the disorder. The second of which being when you are first introduced to treatment, and it can feel a little chaotic, as if your routines and the rigidity of your life is being disrupted in a lot of ways. And then the final section, which feels more peaceful, and it's the feeling of, oh, this is what my thought process should be. This is what it's supposed to feel like. So I'd like to read these lyrics for you. In the first section, it says, "Quick, check the stove again. Is it safe to go out this time? Now check the lock again, and I'm already late. Wait, what did I say to my friends yesterday? Should I call them and briefly apologize for every mistake that I didn't even know I was making? But at least they would know I was sorry. But what for? So now that I'm thinking about yesterday, when I was driving, oh right, when I hit that old pothole on 65 North. Am I certain that was just a pothole? Perhaps I should go back and check on the scene just to verify that I didn't run over something or someone. Oh, God forbid, someone." Moving on to the second section, it says, "This is starting to feel like the brink of something new. Am I alone in my thoughts or this pointless point of view? It's like I've been living my life like a book on a shelf. I'm ready to break me out of myself. I've been looking for perfect since I was a child. It's left me nothing but distant and socially mild. I'm sick of living my life like a book on the shelf. I'm ready to break me out of myself." The final section reads, "Though I'm not done checking stovetops and padlocks in the morning, or calling my friends once again to assure their affection. Even though there are still chances for pain to arise without warning, and resign me to feelings of dread and consuming dejection, it's still worth fighting for." And I want to thank Stephanie Huderberg for that final line. When we met over Zoom, she said, it's a fight dealing with this disorder, but it is a fight worth fighting. So I greatly appreciate that bit of insight. So I'm excited for you all to hear this piece.
Thank you so much.